This episode of Heavy Cardboard is brought to you from the great folks over at GameSurplus.com, bringing the world of board games to you. Now, on to the show. Heavy Cardboard, episode 98, Gentes. Coming to you from caffeine-fueled HCHQ in Denver, Colorado, welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium and heavy strategy board games, war games, 18xx, and other related topics in the board gaming hobby. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
And I'm Amanda.
So let's just get it right. Let's start it off.
Yes.
Right?
Rip the Band-Aid off and just go.
Here we go. Pixie Queen winner.
Yes.
Who is it?
Dun, da, da, da.
I know who it is.
I do too.
So we had 146 entries after removing the duplicates for those that entered more than once.
Doesn't work that way.
Scott Marks.
Yay!
Congrats,
Woo!
Scott. Shoot us an email. We'll get the game out to you. So, and thank you to the other 145 of y'all. You're still winners in our book.
That is correct.
All right. You just didn't win Pixie Queen.
You didn't actually get a game, but just understand that you are winners in our hearts.
Right. And earlier, I went through the list and I said, you're a winner to every one of you.
So if you felt your ear burning,
There
that
you
was
go.
why.
Okay, when I drew the name. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Pixie Queen. Yeah, so last week was a big week.
Yeah.
It was, I worked upwards of almost 80 hours last week.
Yeah.
Getting everything ready, including on streams and behind and for the podcast and everything else. Not complaining, just saying it was a big week. Still kind of recovering
And
a little bit.
not just all the live streams that we did, but all the shipping we did. We spent almost one entire day shipping stuff.
Yeah,
So-
like we're talking like 14 hours type full day. On that note, it was a cool game of logistics that we played.
Yeah,
But-
it was dry.
But the good news is it's all gone. The bad news is, unfortunately, for one reason, obviously this is on us, but a handful of the mugs are getting busted.
Yeah, so I purchased a lot of bubble wrap and peanuts. So we
Shipping peanuts, not like Davis peanuts.
That'd be funny though.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just that's what we ship.
That's our packing peanuts. Or
obviously,
peanuts.
hello. So not only is it good packing material, edible.
You can
too,
have a snack
right?
as long as you're not allergic. Then you die.
However, that's not the case.
Right.
But yeah, outside of that, it seems the early returns, everyone's pretty
Yes.
stoked about getting their stuff.
Yeah.
And really, I keep hearing, wow, you weren't kidding. These shirts are really that soft.
Yeah.
And yeah, we meant it.
And someone actually said that we sent their order to their billing address, not their mailing address, which went to his sister. And she said, even without prompting, wow, this shirt's really soft.
I hadn't heard that, but that's awesome. There's a reason that Tom Vassell wears our shirt. I would say on more days than he doesn't.
Yes,
The
they
only
just
thing
happen
is,
to be under something else.
exactly. He doesn't like flaunt it out there. So boo on you, Tom. Boo on you, I say.
All right, well, so the girl in me has
Yes.
definitely come out since I've started planning because I've always liked stickers and stuff ever since I was a little tiny person. But
Okay.
it's definitely made me more of a girl in that I like.
Hold on. It hasn't made you
Okay,
more
it's
of a
brought
girl.
it out.
Yes, that I'll buy.
Okay, it's brought it out. So I have recently discovered the wonderful world of sparkly pens.
And she should point out that it's sparkly, like on the top part of the pen. Like it's not what you're writing isn't glittery.
No, so
it's
like
just the physical pen itself.
the barrel is half enamel, half filled with Swarovski crystals. And then the top of it is capped with another crystal that matches the insides. And the best part, though, is that the company, Pen Gems, their logo, their mascot is a penguin.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Kind of meant to be.
Uh-huh.
They're nice looking, but I don't know that they're anything like they don't write like. Okay, so you're kind of a pen freak.
Right. They come with
a pen nerd.
They
right?
come with ballpoint refills, but you can purchase separately. I get the .4 pilot, the .4 zebra gel tip to replace, and that makes it a lot better.
Okay, as opposed to a ballpoint?
Right.
Yeah, because gel, I like the way those read as well.
And the ballpoint, they're just, I don't like them.
Okay. All right, cool.
But, yay! And I wanted to share with my friends.
All right, well, consider it shared. So we're getting geared up for the Arizona Game Fair next weekend, which, whoa, that happened fast.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's February. Congratulations. Hello, February. Where did January go?
I don't know.
That went really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the day off on Monday after we got done shipping and went up and played some cards. And I was talking to Paul Chad on the way home. And he was like, oh, so the 9th to the 11th. So you guys are going next weekend. I'm like, no, oh God, yes, okay. Wasn't prepared for that. I'm the one who bought the flights.
It doesn't, but it just doesn't seem like it could be possible.
Right. So that's come quick. So looking forward to that. That's
it'll be fun.
Hopefully some of y'all listening will be there.
Yes.
We're going to bring daily diaries back after we get home. Since it's over the weekend, figure folks aren't going to mind not having pod blasts or daily diaries during the weekend. I figure wait until we get home.
Not
that
like it was
sense.
SN or WBC or something where we want to do it every day.
Right. So we have a few things on the schedule for while we're there. I'm going to be interviewing Paul Dean of Shut Up and Sit Down in front of a live audience. Now, I'm pretty proud of my interview skills. I feel like I have a knack for it. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I'll be honest, I've never interviewed someone live in front of live people. Now, yes, I've interviewed people in front of live people through the internet, but that's different. That's just a name, right? It's not like lots of beady eyes staring at you, wondering why you're not funny. So yeah, a little nervous about that, but in the end, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be just fine.
Paul's reached out, so we're going to coordinate, and so we'll get that figured out. Then there's 2 panels that I'm going to be on, one of which you're going to be on.
That is correct.
So you want to be a reviewer panel, and I'm going to be honest, man. Like, I'm not going to be a killjoy, but I'm going to be brutally honest to people.
Yeah, you don't understand how much time this takes until you do it.
Right. And again, not complaining, just these are facts. Not only that, but the thing I'm going to stress is you better be passionate about it. You better love the idea of doing it, because if you are not, it will wither and die.
Yep.
Because of the amount of work that has to go into it to do anything worth quality, right? Now, was our episode 1 great? Nope. But I feel like the content was pretty good. Just the
sound,
technical side of it was not. That comes with practice and learning and all that stuff.
And money to invest.
And that too. The other side of it, though, is passion and drive. And I'm really going to drive that point home during that panel to be like, look, it's... And everybody up there is going to understand, because it's not going to be just you and I. It's going to be Mark Streed from Board Game Corner, Dan from
Game Boy
Geek, cool. And a couple other folks I believe are going to be there as well. So, yeah, I'm excited, because the last time we've been on a panel like this was at West Texas Con, which seems like eons ago.
It was a couple years ago.
Compared to where we are now and the knowledge that
it's
we've
drastically
learned.
Different.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be an interesting one. And we're going to do our damnedest to record all these so that we can then upload them for the podcast.
Right. Yeah. The West Texas Con one, I know Z Garcia recorded it. It's somewhere. I just don't know where. So if y'all want to see us a couple years ago, not really know what we're talking about.
That's not true. Just we're much more experienced with it now. And the other panel that I'm going to be hosting or running or whatever is getting into 18XX games on Sunday afternoon.
Cool.
So pretty stoked for all these.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I think so. Plus, obviously, playing games.
Yeah. And this is the Arizona Game Fair is the site of the infamous Amanda Death Stare photograph.
Oh, it is during the dominant species game.
I was just looking at Joshua. That's all I was doing. Can't help but have RBF.
Right. All righty. Big thank you to our sponsor, BoardGameTables.com. If you're in the market for a customized, one-of-a-kind board game table, Go check them out, boardgametables.com.
Just another reminder for you guys to send in your favorite clips and moments and everything from our podcast as well as YouTube. So our first anniversary on YouTube and the 100th episode actually fall right on the same week.
2 weeks from now, y'all. 2 weeks.
So we really want to put together a little montage of clips and funny moments and stuff. So send those on over to us.
But we need your help because if you guys don't submit them,
we can't do them.
And we're not going to. So help us out if that's something you guys want us to put together.
Yeah. Send us, if it's the podcast, send us episode and timestamps. If it's something on YouTube, send us the link and the timestamps.
All right, the last bit of front end stuff that we have here is a minor announcement now, which could end up being a really big deal down the road. Mm-hmm. We announced this earlier today to all our patrons, and now we're announcing it to all of y'all, and then to the rest of the world tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow being Friday. Mm-hmm. So there's a new streaming platform that is out there that just the embargo on the press releases just ended 2 days ago at 9 a.m. or yesterday at 9 a.m. It's called Caffeine TV. And we are going to be, for lack of a better way to put it, the face of board games over on Caffeine TV. Now, this is going to be a Twitch competitor. Now, obviously, Twitch is a massive platform, et cetera, et cetera. And we are going to be moving 2 streams a month for the next few months as a kind of a test, like a trial basis to see how it goes. So you assume, say, about 14 live streams a month. So 2 of them, you're looking at about 15% of our live streams we're going to do over on Caffeine.tv, which you can actually go follow us right now. Yeah. Heavy Cardboard over there, all one word, pretty simple. So what does this mean for anybody that watches the streams on YouTube? The good news is after the streams, those 2 or maybe 3 or 4 down the road,
right?
But the 2 to start with, all those are going to be made available on YouTube. We're going to upload them after the fact.
So it may be, a couple hours, but it'll be there.
Right. So if you normally don't tune in and watch the live streams live, you're probably not going to really notice a huge difference except for the chat. So the chat, that's one of the appeals to Caffeine, is it's near instantaneous. So if you come into the room, into the stream, we see. If you say something, we see it and we can react to it near immediately. Now, obviously, it's going to, without there being a chat log right now, which is going to be coming, the messages only last 6 to 8 seconds. So it's going to adjust the way we have to be aware of the chat between everybody at the table. But that's on our end thing, not on a y'all's end thing. But we're excited about it because if this succeeds, if this takes off, we're in on the ground floor. And
it's exciting.
That's really, really exciting. This has been in the works for the last 4 months or so, and it's going to be completely dependent on y'all's feedback. So I realize that we're talking about the live streams on the podcast, but there's enough crossover here that we want your guys' feedback. Let us know what you think, not just of the idea right now, but when we actually start doing it. So we're going to do our test one, kind of a Ask the Elephant, on Monday. We'll announce that during the weekly look ahead. And then we're actually going to start streaming games, again, 2 a month, after we get back from Arizona Game Fair. So you're talking mid to late February. We'll get a couple of them in over there. But yeah, I am really, really excited, really stoked. And I see this as a net benefit for both us as well as y'all, and us as the royal y'all.
Right.
Including us, because I see this as a step in a great direction for Heavy Cardboard and the herd in general.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. And as you said, we're getting in on the ground floor. So if this takes off, then that's awesome for Heavy Cardboard and board gaming in general.
Right. And heavy board gaming at that. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it takes off. And if you guys are interested, the good news, you don't have to have an account over on Caffeine.tv if you want to watch. you will have to actually click on the links that we share, whether it's in Slack, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Hey, we're live. But if you want to chat, you do have to have an account, but that's stupid easy to set up an account.
It takes like literally about 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's not hard, and it's more community-based, which is kind of our MO anyway.
Yeah.
So caffeine.tv, we're Heavy Cardboard over there. Check it out and give us your feedback, y'all.
There really haven't been any games acquired recently, but there has been something that will make you very happy.
Yes. So there have been no games. No games since last week have crossed the threshold into HCHQ. However, as you were alluding to, I am really excited to go all Office Space on the keyboard that we got for the studio originally. It's not that it lags. It's that it's a wireless keyboard that
it has to be in direct communication with the RF chip thingy on the computer, or it doesn't.
If it doesn't see it, it's got to be positioned just right, or it doesn't type. And
then it has to like wake up, and it's just...
Oh, dude, the level of frustration that this has caused, I am totally going Office Space on its ass.
And he kept talking about it, and I kept telling him to order a new one, and he never did. So I finally was like, fine, I'll do it, since you're not going to. And so he gets to go Office Space. I will record this. And we will put it somewhere because people have to see you break this thing.
Haven't broke out the new one yet. Haven't needed to. I will tomorrow before the 1860 stream, though. The Office Space will probably wait for the weekend. All right. So that's the only thing that we've actually acquired. And as far as hunting, honestly, not really anything right now. Just catching up on the things that we have here at HCHQ. But as far as looking forward to play, what you got?
We have the new Martin Wallace downstairs, Australia.
Right.
Then we have Seize the Bean. Which,
right.
I mean, I have a cup of coffee next to me, so of course I want to play Seize the Bean.
I'm looking forward to that. Yep.
And our friend Jordan has Tokyo Metro up on Kickstarter. It's about to end.
Yeah, it ends on Sunday, so we're like, hey, why don't we do the live stream on Saturday? Do it in the afternoon or late morning or early afternoon, so it's good for most places on the planet.
Let people check it out and see if they want to back it.
Yep. So we got that on the docket. Then Summit, the mountain climbing game. Looking forward to tackling that.
Are we going to include Yeti, which is an expansion? Okay.
Eventually, not on the first game, I don't think. And Gaia Project.
Yeah, that's the
Terraforming.
Terra
Mystica in space.
Other than the logistics game called Shipping Orders, what else have we been playing?
Yeah, it's a terribly dry as a bone, and it's definitely better with more players.
Yes.
But when you win the game, the feeling of accomplishment is awesome. And that got played on Sunday, so thank you to everybody that helped out. Matt, Dana, Labrador and Grits, Jerry, and you and I. Yep. So, yeah, that was good. Other than that, like I said, went up the hill on Monday, have a day off, and played some poker, won a bit. That was nice.
Nice.
And the only other games that we've played because of all the shipping and my one day off was Tesla versus Edison Duel, which we just dropped a pod blast on yesterday. Rising Sun, we live streamed 1822. We live streamed and then live streamed
all day on Saturday,
and then live streamed the final time. And Dragon Castle, which mahjong, thinky filler, Azul-ish kind of. So if any of those sound good to you, check them out.
Yeah. It's Gentes, tomato.
Uli said Gentes. I'm going with Gentes.
Then we'll go with Gentes.
All right. So Gentes, published in 2017. The deluxified version's coming later on this year. Designed by the award-winning Stefan Riesthaus. Artwork by Harold Leesky and Adam McIver. Published originally by Spielworks, hence Uli, with the new version coming out from Tasty Minstrel Games. Plays 2 to 4 players, 75 to about 120 minutes. And as far as availability and cost, well, the version we're going to be talking about tonight, it's out of print, but the Kickstarter is currently running, I think, for another 2 weeks or so, thereabouts. So if this sounds like it's going to be up your alleys, check out the Kickstarter. Otherwise, you're going to be looking on secondhand market for an out-of-print Spielworks version of the game. And as far as plays and player counts, 2 to 4, about 4. There might have been a 5th play that I can't remember, but 4 or 5 plays. Let's put it that way. All right. So before we get into the review, though, please note that everything that we're going to be speaking about tonight is for the Spielworks version of the game. To the best of our knowledge, the gameplay and the rules are not changing in the Tasty Minstrel version, only the components and the aesthetics. So if that's not, one way or the other, let's face it, the majority of the review is focused on how the game plays and the mechanisms anyways. So yeah, then it just comes down to aesthetics, which do you want, and availability of what do you want.
Right. So what's going on in Gentes?
So Gentes is a Civ-themed action selection game where players use a time track mechanism of choosing actions that'll require either one or more time, quote unquote, to be used, filling their time track. Acquiring technology cards, playing those cards, training and educating your population to allow for the playing of those technology cards, building cities, and acquiring money to spend on actions. Those are the various actions that players are going to spend 6 rounds taking. Whomever has the most victory points at the end of the game has written their civilization into the annals of history. Or they just win the game.
All right, so let's discuss the 5 factors that we believe give the game its weight. So complexity.
Not really terribly rules heavy.
Really
here.
not.
Pretty quick read, pretty quick understanding, pretty quick teach, pretty quick. Yeah, just not a lot here, I don't feel like. Do you?
No, not really. I mean, there's 6 options for actions on a turn, and each action has relatively low rules overhead, and each turn offers the same options. It's not like things are going to get bigger and more things are going to be available to you as the game goes on.
Right. So I would say really low complexity given the overall weight of the game. I feel like it's not adding a whole lot
Yeah,
here.
I would agree.
However, moving into planning, thoughts?
Planning on how you're going to take your time markers and, if you're going to gamble and take double time or shorten your turn by taking 2 single time, whenever that's an option. Planning ahead for cards to purchase and play by gaining workers on your personal board. You have to plan for all of those things.
Agreed. And there's that tactical versus strategic level of planning in this game, in both in the acquisition of time markers, because your time track only has so many spaces.
Right.
And as you take actions, an action's going to cover up one of those spaces. And then for each time that you choose, that you have to spend or acquire, as it were, fills up another spot on your time track. So if you have multiple time that you would acquire for taking said action, you can either split that up between, one in this spot, one in this spot, one in this spot, or you could do a double time, which saves spaces for this turn at the penalty of doing so because it's going to stay there for next turn. So you're planning, in theory, this turn and next turn, because if you prolong that time, then you're going to have less availability for next turn. So you better be planning this turn and next turn ahead as well, I would say.
Absolutely.
But there's also tactical and strategic card play, because you're going to be acquiring cards that maybe you can't play right now, with the plans to train your population to be able to play those either later on in this round or in a subsequent round. But you are limited.
Yeah, the problem is you only can have 3 cards in your hand.
You can have more, but it comes with a penalty. And so you probably don't want to have more than 3 cards in your hand at a given time.
Because the penalty is a time marker.
Which then lessens how many actions you can take. So, yeah, I would say there's a fair bit here.
And you have to figure out how to plan out a path. Like, do you want to focus on building cities? Do you want to focus on technology cards? Do you want to focus on training your population quickly? I mean, all of them tie together, and there are definite paths you can focus on. Less about getting somewhere by end game and somewhere, in the middle of the game trying to get your stuff going on.
Right, and all players end up basically in the about the same position now. So one player or a couple players might have more cities built, or somebody might have a couple more technology cards built, or they might have trained differently, but ultimately you're all going to kind of end up in the same spot. So it's all a matter of how did you get to that point going into the race that is the final couple rounds for acquiring cards. So more on that part later though. But as you can see, planning, which is usually the case, that's where this game's going to get the majority of the weight, right?
Yep. What about luck and random factors?
Well, there's essentially two, but really only one during the game itself, which are the card draws. The game's split up into 3 ages or 3 eras, each with their own deck. So most, if not all, of the cards, assuming a 4-player game, are going to come out. It's just a matter of when they're going to come out and in what order. The other random factor is all pregame, and this is really kind of a, I don't want to say trivial, but it's definitely a minor thing. The order in which the philosophers or the trainers that you're going to have to be able to use to train up your population, the order of those 6 is random at the beginning of the game. So wherever those ended up, they ended up, but they're going to be manipulated by the players throughout the entire game. So how they started has no relevance and bearing really to the actual game unless you want to break it down into serious minutia. And I'll be honest, no interest.
I don't feel like it's that big of an issue.
I don't either.
It's very minor impact.
Yep, totally. And game length?
I think it plays in the right amount of time. I mean, I don't feel like it doesn't add to the weight at all.
No, 75 to 120. I read in one person said it took them 3 hours to play a 4-player game, and maybe it was just a thoughtful game. But,
I hope so.
But I just don't see this game. This game shouldn't, I feel like, take that long. So it definitely plays fairly briskly for what it is.
It really does. How do you think about getting it?
Maybe around. You see the action phase, which is, everybody playing their cards and taking their actions.
The heyday phase.
Right. And then there's the decline phase,
which is sleepy time.
Yeah, it's basically clean up, but there's also an ability or to where if you have some decline phase abilities that you can trigger, there's some getting income or other items from your cities that are out on the board, but essentially a cleanup phase. So once you see that once, you're fine.
Yeah.
And the end of the era, not difficult as well. And just make sure that everyone have 3 cards or less? Yeah, all right, move on.
Yeah.
If not, okay, fine, you get an extra time marker. But even that, not the end of the world.
Right.
So ultimately, I think this is, the guys and gals on Slack joke about us that it's going to become the Rococo rating, but I would put this squarely on par with Rococo. Yeah. This is a solid, the epitome of a midweight Euro right here.
I would agree with that.
So now I have 2 reference games, weight-wise, Rococo and Gentes. All right, so moving on to the component aspect of the game.
And again, we're talking about the Spielworks version.
Right, yeah. This the Tasty Minstrel version doesn't exist, so we can't compare it.
Right.
However, once that edition comes out, we are going to be able to get a copy, and we'll kind of compare and contrast and talk about whether the Deluxeified helps or doesn't the game. But from what I've seen, the only aspect of that I'm a little apprehensive about, I think, honestly, are the time markers.
Yeah, they're little hourglasses.
Right, they're actual as opposed to tiles. Do those fit? Are they a little fiddly? I do love the fact that the double layer board, the subset to where, or inlet, inset, I'll get the word yet. The inset boards to where you can place tiles or to where if you bump it, no big deal.
Right.
Whereas in the Spielworks one, it's just a piece of cardboard, right? And
you bump it and stuff goes everywhere.
Right. So that's pretty standard though for what it's worth. But yeah, overall, standard, solid production, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the cards are linen, all the markers and player boards are nice and thick cardboard. All of the cubes and buildings are wood. They're all basic, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly acceptable level of production. It's not there's no egregious errors here. There's nothing there, but at the same time, there's nothing spectacular. It's totally acceptable. Yeah.
Box size.
So it's kind of Agricola shaped, that
but
standard,
smaller.
but it's thinner.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, talking about Spielworks, just under 13 inches by 8.5 inches by 2.25 inches, or 32.5 by 21.5 by 6 centimeters, to give you guys a little context there. All right, graphic design. What are your thoughts here?
It's very clear that they were going for language independent for everything.
Yeah, and I think that kind of negatively impacted the readability and the usability a little bit
with
of
some stuff.
Learning the game. Yeah. To where you definitely need to refer to the rule book to figure out what this means or what that means. But overall, again, it's consistent.
That's the biggest thing, is it's consistent. So once you know what that thing or that other thing is, you're not going to get confused later on, because it's always the same thing.
However, if you put the game on the shelf for a couple months, you pull it back out.
You're not going to remember what this or that was.
You're probably going to have to reference the rule book again. So I appreciate what they were going for with the language independence here, I guess that's the right way to phrase that. To where, like, you could not speak any English or any Italian, have the same, as long as you knew the rules, you could play the game, doesn't matter. However, there was one misprint that we found on a card. It's a certain philosopher, which should be grayed out, but wasn't. But I feel like that's a minor thing. We always played it as a 0, which is exactly what the grayed out means. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Gamer assumption correct there. Overall, I think it's a reasonable job on the graphic design. I appreciate what they were going for, but it wasn't a home run.
Yeah, no, I feel like that there could have been a little bit of words put in to maybe clear some things up here and there.
Or better iconography in general.
Yeah.
How about the artwork? I'm curious your take on this and whether or not we agree here or not.
I mean, it's Harold Leesky, so I'm going to like it. But I feel like that it may be a little bit too caveman-ish.
Yeah, it definitely had an intentional primitive look.
Yeah, definitely that.
And it succeeded in that respect. The theme in the game, really not terribly strong. I mean, you could make it. Yes, I understand. Okay, hey, if you're doing something that causes you to lose a certain population, okay, based on the name of what it is that you're building, I get that.
Right.
But outside of that, theme's not super strong here. So the artwork works to try and pull you in as a player, but in the end, I just feel like the artwork was just kind of plain and it just uninspiring. I'm not saying it was uninspired. I'm just saying as a gamer, and I like a lot of his work, Harold's work, but in the end, So it does a great job, though, not distracting from the gameplay, but it also doesn't really grab you and say, here, look at this amazing artwork.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm fine with, just pointing it out.
Mm-hmm. What about the rule book?
So I differ here from apparently a lot of the comments and rules questions on BGG because, dare I say, Uli and Spielworks have listened to the critiques in the past with their poor rule books. And this is, in my opinion, a pretty massive improvement on a rule book. I can honestly say we never had to reference BGG at any point to learn the game or to prepare for the teaching video that I did. There are a couple things that got repeated unnecessarily, and there is some ambiguity. Absolutely, there is. But coming from say, Rushafart
Or
Solarius mission, I think this is a marked improvement. Now, is it a great rule book? No. Is it a decent rule book? Yeah, I think so.
Right.
So, do they get a pass on that? No, they don't get a pass, but I will commend where effort has been made, and it's clearly been made here.
Yes.
So continue making that effort and continue improving on that, and I like the path it's on.
Definitely.
All right? So that's all you can ever ask is ask a publisher to own it and work to improve it. They're doing that.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm happy with that.
Yep, I would agree.
There's also a separate booklet for the cards to describe all the different cards in detail. However, 2 issues. Still, even with this, the card layout, the extra booklet here, there's still ambiguities here, and we had to definitely make, again, that gamer assumption, which I'm never a super fan of, especially if you have a separate booklet.
Yeah.
Clarify that. Come on, make it crystal clear. The other thing is, the cards are separated by era 1, era 2, era 3. However, they're not in alphabetical order within that. They might be in German.
Yes, I made that comment, and they may be alphabetized in German, but once it was translated to English,
they didn't
not
move
at all.
around, so it just made it harder to find what I was looking for.
You have to search for it.
Right. So, yeah. So, as I mentioned, we did a playthrough and teaching of the game, and our buddy Paul Grogan over at Gaming Rules also did an amazing teach of the game. So, those are a couple resources. If you choose to just skip the rule book altogether, you can go check those out.
Right. What about setup and teardown and everything?
All right. Really easy. Baggies are just your friend here. Just separate player pieces and then, a certain amount of money and your starting cubes and all that. Put them into baggies. You're good to go. Then the teaching, honestly, just describe the main action phase or the heyday phase, then the cleanup phase, which is, again, the decline phase. Go over the main actions in detail. Talk about what the secondary actions in the game are and how to do them. What triggers the end of the game, which is the end of the 6th round. Go over final scoring. Play. Not hard, not long. Get to it.
What makes Gentes an enjoyable game?
Honestly, for me, the time track. When I first talked about this game with Uli about 18 months ago or so, he immediately said that the time track is the hook and kind of the clever part of the game, and totally spot on.
Yep.
I've heard it compared to the civil actions and that type of mechanism that you're going to find in Through the Ages, and I got to be honest, I get what they're going for, but I don't agree with it because of the fact that in Through the Ages, you can always use only your available actions this turn. Whereas in Gentes here with this time track, you're actually able to borrow from the next turn, from a subsequent or the subsequent turn, because instead of taking single time to fill up more spaces, you can take that double time to basically pay me Tuesday for a hamburger today type thing. And I think that is really clever and really well implemented here, and I have to agree with Uli that is the hook for the game, and it works really, really well, and I really dig it.
Yep. And for me, I mean, tableau building is always going to be a favorite of mine, especially when you can gather cards that have the same icon on them and kind of...
For bonus points, right?
Yeah, kind of weave those together and get as many of those as possible to just get more and more and more and more and more points every time.
Right, because they stack in a sense that, okay, if you've already played 2 of those symbols, you play a third, you not only get the victory points for the card that you just played, but you get a point for every symbol, including the card you just played, so you would get multiple, and it just keeps growing as you get more and more of those symbols out there.
It's called synergy.
Okay, the synergy of the cards.
Yes.
There you go. So the game kind of has a feel of more of a classic older game, but again, some of the mechanisms feel modern and the game just feels known but yet fresh at the same time. So the time track is kind of the shiny new, yet coupled with older or familiar, not older, but familiar mechanisms, I think is a good way to put it. So the card play, okay, to be able to play a card, you have to be able to meet the prerequisites, whether it's certain buildings out on the board, in addition to having your population trained, or just the population trained, which then that kind of is not really a new riff on it, but the way it's implemented is a new way because you have 3 rows, so rows being horizontal, and the way those work is you have 3 workers or 3 different types of population on each side. So on the top row, you have noble on the left, worker on the right, and they each have a cube. As you train, say a noble, the noble goes from 0 to 1, and it goes all the way up until where it meets where the worker is. So there can only be a total of 6 between the 2 of them. So it's either 4 and 2, 3 and 3, 5 and 1, 1 and 5, however you end up training it up. It's kind of a not a tug of war, but it's a push-pull.
Like push-pull, yeah.
Between how much you can have of one train versus another. And so you have that noble and worker, then you have the soldier and merchant, then the priest and the scholar. And all of these cards that you're going to want to play, these technology cards, all have these prerequisites. Like maybe I have to have 4 nobles, 2 merchants, and 3 scholars. Well, I have to get my guys trained up. And if I've gone too far with the other side of it, then I have to train it to push them back the other way. And I think it's kind of a cool little push-pull seesaw type thing with the training. So it feels original, yet familiar at the same time.
It's definitely can be a pretty delicate balance in which cards you play and in what maybe even what order you choose to play them in, because maybe one card that you want to play you need 4 priests, but the next one you need 4 scholars. You can't do that on the same time.
Right. So you I already have 4 priests. I got to play this card first and then work to it, etc., etc.
Right.
Should note that priests, we call them bunny priests because it looks like they have bunny ears.
That's correct.
And apparently somebody alluded to there's a cartoon out there nowadays. I don't know.
I have
that
no idea.
She
That's
wears a little
not what we were
bunny.
talking about.
Yeah, anyway, sorry. Bunny priests. So there's quick turns, smooth gameplay, relatively short play time.
Yeah, everything feels like it belongs and it fits together very well and interacts with itself perfectly, and it just keeps the game going.
Yeah, and there's nothing here that feels tacked on. Like there are some people that, I don't want to say complain, but will point out, this doesn't really fit, or this feels like complexity for complexity's sake. And I don't feel like there's any of that whatsoever in this game.
Not at all. The only thing that might be tacked on is the theme.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And again, the theme fits, and I see what they're going with. It's just not strong.
Yes. I also enjoy the mitigation of prerequisites to play your cards.
When you build cities, you're able to, if you build temples or if you build oracle buildings, these allow you flexibility for being able to either make up for missing population or to pseudo-train your population.
Yeah, kind of wiggle them around a little bit.
Right. And on top of that, you're able to take little mini training actions with the oracle, a bonus action or a secondary action. So there is that mitigation. It also kind of takes some of the sharp edges of the game away to where, again, this falls back to that midweight Euro.
Yeah.
And that's one of those aspects that I feel brings it back down from what could have been a heavier game to more midweight, because it gives you that mitigation and softens the blows.
Yeah. And speaking of building those temples and oracle buildings, whenever you do that, whenever you are in the same color area and you already have one building and you build another one, then you get to redo everything in that color.
Yeah, it re-triggers all the bonuses of all your existing buildings in that region, of the 3 regions that are on the board, assuming not a 2-player game.
Right. And so you get more money and more cubes for your board, and you can, if you just continue to do that, you can build up and build up and build up all of this stuff to be able to, maybe that last turn of that round, you can fire off and do a whole bunch of stuff
and do multiple cards, over, if you have the time and slots available on your time track to be able to, oh, look, I qualify for this card, I can play this one. Boom. Oh, look, I qualify for this turn or this card on the next turn, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And that, it does give you a little bit of flexibility there, but it also, there's victory point buildings out there too, to where,
and money buildings,
if you want to just keep re-triggering those to where you're getting victory points every time you build a building. Granted, you're limited to 6 buildings, but you can always
raise a building.
Yeah, you can basically just take a building from on the board and move it to a different location to continue building, so that, okay, you're not getting all of your bonuses then because you just had to move a building, but you're getting a lot of them, and you can just keep pounding those victory points and that money and get an engine going that way. So there is a little bit of variability and different choices as far as paths you can take in that regard.
The way that the civilization cards are purchased, and as well as how you pay to increase your population, depending on how much coin you spend, that dictates how many cards you're able to purchase or how many people you're able to train.
Yeah, and I really, really like that mechanism to where, okay, I have enough money, so you know what? I'm going to go ahead and spend more money so that gives me more flexibility and more options in what cards or what people I want to train, because you're limited by the amount of money you spend, not so much by the time that you're taking, but the amount of money. So there's actually really two currencies in this game.
Yep.
There's actual cash
And time.
but the currency of time. And I think those are interwoven really well. And the fact that you have to balance, okay, am I spending a lot of money and taking very little time? Am I taking more time and less money? And by taking, I mean taking and putting onto my time track. These are legitimate decisions that you have to make. These are these are that I would argue those are the key decisions that are in this game, because whether or not you're going to get more actions this turn, next turn, take fewer actions this turn so that you can take more actions next turn, or the other way around, because maybe the cards that you're looking for or the cards you want to build aren't out there and you're hoping they'll come out. Somebody will be able to, purchase some of those cards or acquire some of those cards so that the card rogue refills, and hey, there's the cards I want, and oh look, you don't have any more actions this turn, and I've taken the first player marker. I get first dibs on that.
Right.
So yeah, there's a fair bit here. Digging it. Even though this is the Spielworks version that we are reviewing,
right?
As I said at the beginning, the game itself isn't changing, just the components, right?
That's right.
Well, the good folks over at Tasty Minstrel have offered up a copy of the deluxeified version of Gentes for us to give away. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. We're going to be giving away a pledge to this, which means probably November timeframe, you will get a copy of the game from Tasty Minstrel. So, to be able to enter, what do they got to do?
All right, everybody. So head on over to heavycardboard.com/civ.
CIV.
And enter the contest there.
All right, cool. So again, heavycardboard.com/civ. Enter it. We'll keep it open for 2 weeks, which you will know before the end of the
Kickstarter.
Before the end of the Kickstarter, who the winner is going to be. So you get a free pledge. So if you backed it, it saves you some money. Woo! And if you didn't back it, you get an extra game. All right, cool. All right, good luck. On the flip side, what's not to dig about the game?
There's no, wow in the game.
There's really not, is there? It's just solid game.
Yeah.
But there's no pop.
There's no, mind-blowing, what?
Right. And on that note, the game incrementally changes, so there's no big shifts to force your opponents to react outside of maybe you took a card they wanted or a building location that they wanted. This also kind of highlights the fact that there really isn't a ton of player interaction here.
No, not really at all. And that, it depends on what kind of game you want. Maybe that's a plus for you.
Right.
Maybe it's a minus, but
right.
just it's not the best thing.
We prefer more player interaction. Yeah. Folks listening to this are aware of that. So if that's a non-issue, cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
it's a non-issue for you.
And earlier you spoke about how it's not what you do, it's not where you end up, it's how you got there.
Right.
And regardless of that path chosen to get to the once you get to the final round or the second to the last round, it feels like it always ends up and just card grab, get as many points as you can fast.
Right, because the Era 3 cards are worth so many victory points. However, while I agree that it's more of a card grab, it's not always for the Era 3 cards, because one of the actions or the action that allows you to grab cards or to acquire cards also or alternatively allows you to go dig in discard pile. And if, like Amanda was talking about earlier, if you have, say, 6 of a symbol up there, you could go digging for an Era 2 card, find that symbol.
Easily fulfill it.
Maybe you get 6 points for the card, but you get another 7 from all the symbols. All of a sudden, that's a 13-point card, which puts it on par with the level 3. And maybe you don't need to train now like you would have had to have.
So you're not having to use as many actions.
Exactly. So yes, it does always seem to come down to grabbing cards in the last round, maybe the penultimate round as well. But it's not always the level 3 cards. So at least there's a little bit of variability.
There's a little bit of thinking, a little bit more thinking.
Right. It's not just, okay, that's a card. I think I can get it. I'll get that.
Right.
Because at the end of the game, even if you have cards left in your hand, you can still score them, provided you can show that you qualify to do so, but you only get half the points. And vice versa, if you can't build it, if you end up failing, you only lose half the points. So again, taking some of those sharp corners or sharp elbows off the game, which was a design choice by Stefan.
I just don't really know how much depth there is here.
Yeah, you end up with multiple paths to get to the same spot.
Yeah.
So in that respect, this actually kind of reminds me of Rushford or the Ruhr, in that everybody ends up in about the same place at the end. It's just how you got there.
Yep.
So I feel like that's a fair comparison in that one regard between the two games. There's not a lot of opaqueness in this game, which, depending on what side of the fence you fall on here, could be a positive or a negative. You look at a game like an Infamous Traffic or something, Lower PAX Renaissance, that's, wow, really, really opaque at first. This game has none of that. All of your actions have a immediate benefit that you get to tangibly see. I take this action, it's going to get me this, or I'm going to do that. So I don't know if that's really a negative here, because if we agree that this is solid midweight Euro, maybe there shouldn't be any of that opaqueness here.
I don't think that opaqueness would fit in the framework of this game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's just, maybe it's just a craving of mine, because you look at something, and this could be because it's a Spielworks game.
Yeah.
I'm looking, and it's Stefan Riesthaus, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Arkwright.
Right.
And that has some to it. Here, not so much. And by not so much, I mean none.
At all. I feel like that you're trying to fit a round peg in a square hole.
And that very much could be a me issue.
Yeah.
I totally get that. That's fair. It's just,
I mean, it's a question, and that's fine. I don't feel like that.
It shouldn't detract from the game, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Judge the game on the game, not on the other games.
Not what you want it to be.
Right. And totally fair point on that. However, there is not any meaningful emergent gameplay here. Can we agree on that?
Yes, you are doing the exact same thing in round 6 that you do in round 1.
Right. The actions don't change, and I don't want to say it's overly repetitive, because, again, plays in perfect amount of time for what it is. It's 6 rounds. It feels right for 6 rounds. Just, again, to kind of go back to that opaqueness, there isn't any of that. Does that also mean that this, with where it falls in the weight range, maybe it shouldn't have a ton of emergent gameplay?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that, but I just know that this game doesn't have it. So know that going in.
Yes.
All right, moving on to scalability here. So we break it down 2 ways, right? Mechanical and gameplay. Mechanical scalability, the number of action tiles is reduced with less than 4 players.
Right.
And only with 2 players, Africa, which is the bottom of the 3 regions, or the yellow region if you're looking at the board, is blocked off. And I saw that there was a player variant to where you don't block off Africa, you block off certain cities to where you still have 3 regions. Still, the idea is
some of it is blocked off.
Right. So, some of the building spots are blocked off, and the action tiles are reduced.
Right.
You have less options. Gameplay-wise, though, I don't really feel like there's much of a difference between the playing at 4 players or 3 players or 3 to 2. I just don't feel like there's a massive difference.
Really, the only difference is that you don't go through all the cards.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So you're not going to see all of the cards, but that's really it, though. And, I mean, because it's basically multiplayer solitaire, you're not going to feel...
There's indirect player action, right? Like, if I'm building places you wanted to build, or I'm taking cards that you wanted, there's that indirect player interaction. But outside of that, there's really not. So
the game doesn't feel like oh, this feels so much more open with 2. No.
No, yeah,
Nothing like
exactly. Yeah, because the game mechanically scales.
Right.
And so it just feels the same, I would say.
Yep. All right, let's do the comments for BGG.
All right. So I got four good ones, I thought, here that run the gamut from both sides. First one. Really good Civ Light game. This isn't a glorified arms race with strong implementation of the classic Euro conundrum of never being able to do as much as you want. Yeah, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really original, only one strategy, cards, without infamy nor praise. So I believe this was by an Italian gentleman, so if I can translate that, milk toast. Stefan has assembled a truly impressive set of cohesive mechanisms here. Unsurprisingly so, I might add, having seen what he's achieved with Arkwright. Nothing feels excessive. Nothing feels out of place. Your options all work very well together. However, after numerous plays, it just feels like Gentes lacks depth. Each play has some form of set collection of cards once you meet their requirements, along with quote-unquote first to something bonus tiles, so it always boils down to a race. There are minimal opportunities present to be creative with card, building, and board abilities. The restrictive nature of the game, administrative fees, and your own income preventing you from freely flexing your action selection abilities will lead to a sense of wishing you had more time to explore other options. Thus, there is some incentive here for multiple plays, but multiple unexplored derivative options does not necessarily equate to depth.
I have one point to make. Listening to Stephen Lynch in his superhero song, Action Selection Man.
That's funny. No, that basically summed up kind of what I was working towards with the lack of depth earlier. All right, last one. Very streamlined engine builder with an action selection mechanic that forces you to make hard choices each and every turn. Turns go pretty quickly, and there are enough of them so you can work towards a particular strategy. Our game saw 3 different approaches with all 3 players ending up within a dozen points of each other, always an indication of a good game. So in closing, I feel like this game set out to not be anything more than what it ended up being, which is a solid midweight Euro. And that's exactly what it is. It's enjoyable. It's not anything earth-shatteringly new, but I do really dig the time mechanic, and I am looking forward to playing the game more.
I wonder if Stefan designed Arkwright for one section, like maybe of his family or his fellow gamers in Germany, and then people were like, this is too hard, I need something else. And so that's when he designed Gentes. I wonder if that was a driving factor in how much lighter Gentes is than Arkwright. I feel like that Arkwright is such a vastly superior game to Gentes that it's kind of hard to
parse the two.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that they both came from the same brain.
But then again, you look at somebody like Vlada Chvátil and look at the range of games. So I feel like that's an us thing, that we are judging on something that we shouldn't.
Possibly,
so
yeah.
What is it you told me a minute ago? Judge Gentes on Gentes.
That's
right?
true. That's
it's
true.
Not trying to be Arkwright.
Right.
I think anybody coming into this expecting or hoping for or wanting this to be Arkwright, the disappointment's on you, not on the game. The game, I feel like, does a very good job for what it's trying to do.
Right. And I agree with that. It's interesting to me that 2 such vastly different things can come from the same brain.
Oh, I'm constantly amazed at what designers come up with, so I'm right there with you. All right, so rating time. We rate on a 1 to 6 scale. 1, burn it with fire. 6, Hall of Fame. Everything else falls in between. What you got?
3.
You got a 3 here.
Yeah.
Really?
It's just okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's just
And
okay.
see, I think it's a step up from that. I would give this a 4 because this is a game that, in taking everything else out away from this, the fact that, we like Stefan, he won our award with Arkwright. Now, taking all that and just judging it on Gentes itself, I think there's enough redeeming qualities here for this to be considered a solid game that I'm glad we have in our collection. Is it ever going to be, yes, I cannot wait to play? No.
Right.
But is it better than Yes, I think it is. So that's why I give it a 4.
All right. Yay, we differ. People are going to be so happy.
All right, so that is Gentes by Spielworks and soon to be Tasty Minstrel Games. And thank you to Uli over at Spielworks for the review copy of the game. All right, so that's a wrap. Episode 98. This is going to be weird talking about triple digits.
I know,
soon,
it's going
right?
to, you're going to have to rejigger the way you say the intro.
I'll just talk really fast.
Because you've gotten so used to it being like
a certain cadence.
Yeah. And now you're going to be adding another number in there.
Or wait, maybe we switch over to where you do them in the triple digits. That way I don't have to rewire my brain.
Hey, everybody, let us know what you think.
All right. Cool. So next week's episode is going to be, we don't know yet. So we'll be excited to fight. We'll all find out together.
Yes.
During the weekly look ahead on Sunday.
You and I will have decided about an hour prior.
So y'all let us know what you think, both of the episode, what you thought of Gentes, if you've had a chance to play it, and give us some feedback. Holler at us. Either contact at Heavy Cardboard or just go to our website and hit us up there, social media, etc., etc.
That's right.
And also you can always come watch us over on Caffeine as well, y'all.
Yes, you can.
We'll see y'all later.
Bye, everybody.